This week, Victory Over Depression Part 5, Understanding Your Reaction. You know, something I'm very much going to talk about tonight is me and the computer don't fight first. So just a quick review what we've been going through for the past several weeks.
Well, hey, don't forget the anger management thing you talked about.
Oh, believe me, we're going to get some anger tonight. We're going to get into anger. We're going to get into it tonight. It's going to benefit me, believe me. So, before we've learned that 4 good ways to have victory over depression is to have a foundation of Jesus Christ, renewing your mind, knowing who you really are in Christ, and freedom. So in order to understand our reactions, we must first realize that there's a great conflict between the real you and our flesh. This is Paul's experience in Romans 7:15 and 19 is experienced to every believer. So for what I am doing, I do not understand. For what I will to do, that I do not practice. But what I hate, that I do. For the good that I will do, I do not do. But the evil I will not to do, that I practice. You know, this is something that every Christian or whoever goes through. You know, every time we want to practice some good, we want to say the right thing to somebody. We want to help somebody. But it says always the opposite. We end up doing what we don't want to do. You know, we didn't want to say this stuff, but here we are saying that we wanted to help this person, but here we go not doing that. Conflict between the spirit and the flesh. We can kind of compare this to an AM and FM radio. There are 2 frequencies in the radio. AM stations cannot be heard on the FM dial, and FM cannot be heard on the AM dial. But we, as a listener, we can't change the frequency of the station, but we can choose which station that we are going to listen to. You know, if you want to listen to FM, we have that choice. If we're going to listen to AM, we have that choice. The same thing is true with our minds. We have one mind that's got 2 frequencies. We got Satan and the world, or God and His Word. We have the choice to either listen to Satan and the world, that's the AM frequency, or God and His Word, the FM frequency. Because the program of Satan in the world appears to the desires of the flesh. For everything in the world, the cravings of sinful man, the lust of his eyes, and pride in possessions, comes not from the Father, but from the world. In 1 John 2:16. So that's what the Satan in the world does to us. You know, we try to get ourselves pleased with happiness. We take pride in what we have, and we take it for granted. You know. And these 2 appeals will never change, and we're continually faced with the decision of which program to listen to. You know, you fight against your flesh. You know, well, we're going to do this one, we're going to get the spirit. You know, but we want to do this. You know, it's always that conflict. It's a matter of who we choose. There's Romans 8:5-6. Those who live according to their sinful nature have their minds set on what that nature desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their mind set on what the Scripture desires. The mind of a sinful man is death, but the mind controlled by the Spirit is life and peace. You know, kind of like we talked about in part 4, you know, or part 3 rather. You know, the world's opinions are changing from moment to moment. And if that's what we're dealing on, the mind of the flesh, all it is death that kind of being produced all over the place. But if we're controlled by the Spirit, searching the deep things of God, produces the godly desires within us. So that's kind of how we are programmed. We are programmed through our 5 senses: our sight, our hearing, our smell, taste, and touch. So whenever we see, hear, smell, taste, or touch something, particularly see and hear, it produces thoughts and or arouses certain memories. You know, because every time you hear somebody talking about something, it sparks a thought in your head, it sparks a memory in your head. Every time you see something, it reminds you of something. You know, that's probably the 2 most common ways to view how you're going to handle a circumstance that arises within you. Because as we ponder these thoughts and memories, they produce desires. And the conflict which began in your mind is now cultivated in your emotions. And according to your thoughts, these desires will either be of the flesh or the Spirit. You know how we talked about emotions follow our thoughts, you know. So if our thoughts is on the flesh, our desires are going to be on the flesh. You're going to be acting out the things of the flesh. But if we're thinking godly things, and we're thinking the wonderful things of the Spirit, our flesh is going to act out the things of God. And we're not, walking by the Spirit, and you're not going to fulfill the lust of the flesh. For example, If your basic attitude is eat and be merry, or if it feels good, then do it. Your actions are going to bear this out. And this is what we're going to do from day to day because it makes us feel good, so this is what's going to happen. But on the other hand, if your attitude is, Lord, you are my sufficiency. You're all I need. I trust you to fulfill my desires in your own way. And we will act this out depending on how we're thinking, depending on what we're feeling, how much is following. We're all going to do either one of those things. Eat and be merry. Be of the flesh, think the fleshly things, or total dependency upon God, depending, Lord, I trust you and you only. Only you can satisfy me the way that you can. And if you're constantly walking in that, you will walk this out without having to say a word because your actions are going to show that. But in either case, visible actions always reflect the invisible attitudes. Then as you continue your actions, they become habits and behavior patterns that make up your entire lifestyle. Your present behavioral patterns are the result of a long process. Because the beginning point for any type of change is renewing your attitudes and your thinking patterns. This is what we talked about in part 2. We renew your minds, renew your thinking patterns, renew your attitudes. Because it begins with a decision to let go of unrealistic expectations. Get rid of the fantasies that you think life's supposed to be like and how grand it's supposed to be, and look at it for it truly is, and begin placing your dependency upon God, knowing that the trials are going to come, but we're going to trust God with it and have a humble spirit with it. Because when circumstances enter your life, you have a choice of two basic reactions. You can either respond in a spiritual way by giving thanks, or you can respond in a fleshly way by becoming angry. Part of that anger. But neither response is going to change the circumstance. It's going to be the way how you're viewing it. Like me, just work with me here. I'm ready to throw this thing out the window. The flesh is coming up, the anger coming up the side of it is just saying, Lord, thank you we have technology to use, so it kind of help everybody out. Everybody can see it on the TV, and we ain't all got to keep flipping through the scriptures. It's right here, instead of being thankful for it.
And that will make Aunt Lisa mad too.
Let me know when you do so I can move.
But it will affect, however, how you are going to live in the midst of the circumstance. For example, a man loses his job. He can either give thanks for it and trust God to take care of him, or he could become angry at his boss or God for taking his job away from him. But neither response is going to change the fact that he lost his job. He still lost his job, whether he get bad or not.